Hi everybody, this is a review video for the first graders. So this section talks about critical explorations in its aftermath. So it talks about a lot of changes and different way of doing things after the Black Death pandemic. Okay, so the consequence of the Black Death pandemic allowed for explorations to occur that contributed to Europe's emergence into the Renaissance, a turning point in Western thought defined by the revival of Greek and Roman art and philosophy and by the exploration of ideas. So these some of the changes that happened after the Black Death pandemic, it was so huge. So because of this change, because of this consequence, Europe was emerged into the Renaissance. And Renaissance is considered as a turning point in Western thought, in which this Greek art and Roman art revived during the Renaissance time, and a lot of philosophy and new ideas were explored during the Renaissance time. And the pandemic greatly contributed to the transformation of Europe's economic and social system. So because of this Black Death pandemic, Europe's economic system and social system changed a lot afterward. Okay? So the increase of peasant wages and the subsequent decrease in wealth inequality quickened the decline of manorial system and feudalism. So after the pandemic, farmers paid a lot of salaries and a lot of wages, and the gap between the rich and poor, the wealth inequality decreased. So because of these two reasons, manorial system in Europe, feudalism disappeared because of these two consequences. So with the demise of manorial system, Europe began to develop mercantilism, an economic system where exports increase a nation's wealth. So after feudalism and the manorial system disappeared from Europe, this mercantilism appeared. So mercantilism is based on export. So you increase nation's wealth based on the export system. So this wealth would be spent to compete against other nations by exploring new colonies and funding wars. So these European countries accumulated wealth based on the mercantilism. They compete against each other in order to become more wealthier. So they built new colonies around the world, North Africa, Asia, South America. And when the competition gets harsh, gets fierce, they raise the war. So this mercantilism, also the precursor to the current socio-economic system of capitalism. So here, the mercantilism was the precursor. Precursor means beginning or the herald. So mercantilism was the beginning to the socio-economic system of capitalism. So the economic and social changes brought by the plague-generated wealth used to promote artistic advancement during the Renaissance. So, as you guys know, many people died during the pandemic period, but some people, they accumulated wealth, and this wrote means wrote. So even though many people died during the pandemic, some people accumulated wealth, and they used those wealth for the advancement of art. So in other words, these people who accumulated wealth, they invested their money in the artistic area after the pandemic. So the excess of wealth created by the massive death toll put extra money in the hands of those who are already patron of the art. So those excess amount of wealth, it was used for supporting or sponsors. So these people, they use their wealth in order to support or sponsor the artwork. Okay, so let me put it this way. This excess of wealth and they are using, this excess of wealth was made by the massive bestowal, and this money is used to support the artist. So let me put it this way. Let's say in Italy, before pandemic, you had 100 CEOs. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, 95 of them died. And you have like 5 CEOs left. 5 CEO survived during the pandemic. So here entire wealth in Italy is this amount. And before pandemic, like 100 CEOs, they divided this entire wealth into 100 pieces. So one CEO like owned this much, right? But after pandemic, Italy have like similar amount of national wealth, and since only like 5 CEOs survived, you only divide it into like 5 pieces. So one CEO after the pandemic ended up having more amount of money of the Italy. So with that excess amount of money, they could invest that money into the artistic development, artistic advancement. That's what it means by this sentence. Okay? So conspicuous consumption among the newly wealthy led to increased exploration and patronage of the art. So conspicuous means like significant, right? Significant consumption, significant spending. Among the newly wealthy people. So, some of the newly wealthy people, they spend huge amount of money for supporting art. Okay? For instance, after nearly half of the population in Florence perished, the families that grew wealthier include the Medicis, already wealthy banking family. They would become patrons of great Renaissance artists, including Da Vinci and Michelangelo. So, for instance, in Florence area, Florence, Italy, almost like half of the population perished. Half of them died. Okay? And some of the family that survived the pandemic are the Medici families. They survived the pandemic, and they were already wealthy banking family in Italy, and they become supporters of famous artists like Da Vinci and Michelangelo during the Renaissance after the pandemic. Okay, so these families survived and they invested their money. They supported the artists afterward. So following the rise of lay piety movement and early Reformation after the pandemic, larger exploration religious practices occur. Okay? So the lay piety movement is called as like normal people. So this normal people's sincerity movement and this reformation, it kept on going, exploring the new way of practicing religion after pandemic. So religious mindset had changed permanently from using religion to explain the word misfortune to a spiritual role directed at self-salvation. So what it means is that religious mindset of people changed after the pandemic. Before pandemic, before pandemic, people used religion in order to explain the world misfortunes. For instance, let's say that there was a drought, or there was a famine, or there was a Black Death situation. People believe that we have drought, we have famine, and we have Black Death because God is angry about humans. Humans behaving so badly lately, so God is punishing us with drought, famine, and Black Death. That's how people used religion before pandemic. But after pandemic, people used religion in order to achieve self-salvation. Okay? Self-salvation, self-saving. So rather than explaining like misfortune by using the religion, people use more religion in order to achieve self-salvation after pandemic. These religious implications and the consulting willingness of people to question standard Catholic doctrine were contributing factors in the emergence of Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation, early 16th century, along with other religious movements. So many changes in religious practice and people asking questions about religious doctrine. These two contributed emergence of Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation. So because of these two changes in religion, the Martin Luther, he could achieve Protestant Reformation in 16th century. Okay? So religious practice also changed after pandemic. So finally, we have conclusion to the section. So 14th century Europe, highly susceptible to disease, encountered Black Death while exploring new methods to exchange goods with Asia. So Europe was highly susceptible, highly vulnerable. Vulnerable to disease. So it was easy for Europe to be infected with this virus, and they encountered Black Death while they are trying to have more exchange with Asia. So the resulting pandemic shook the foundation of European society, allowing new societal systems to develop and explorations into modern economic, religious, and scientific ideas to occur. So this pandemic, Black Death pandemic, it really shook the fundamentals of European society. It changed so much of European society from the bottom. So Europe went through a lot of changes in different perspectives in society, such as economy, religion, and science. And alongside these explorations, the pandemic changed Europe's culture and society, 14th century. Not only economic, religion, but also science. Europe also changed through culture and society in 14th century after the pandemic. Culture and religious exploration shattered the feudal system, eradication of serfdom, and a new sophisticated economic system. All outcomes of the plague pandemic contributed to Europe's arrival into the Renaissance. So these cultural and religious changes and shattered the feudal system. Shattered means scattered. Scattered, broken feudal system, and eradication means removal. Removal of serfdom, it all contributed of Europe's arrival into the Renaissance. Because of all these reasons that Europe had after the pandemic, Europe arrived into the Renaissance. So this was the conclusion of the Black Death. So we normally think that there might be a bad thing after the pandemic, but no. It says that the pandemic situation brought some positive consequences like Renaissance to Europe, which was quite interesting conclusion. Okay, so this was the end of the review video and end of the Black Death pandemic. So you did a good job. Everybody did a good job, and thank you for listening. Okay, so see you everybody. Bye bye. Thank you.